Despite being a massive Survivor fan, when I first heard of Big Brother, I always kind of laughed at the concept. Yes, it was basically Survivor in a house, which you would think would mean I would be eager to watch it, but something about it being a house just felt off. Kind of like those "we have blank at home" memes. Big Brother just felt like Survivor's ugly little sister. On Survivor, I'm watching people starve out on an island with dangerous creatures, compete in gruesome challenges, all while having to strategize. In Big Brother, players are living the good life, and challenges include hanging off bananas and spelling words right. Technotronics, Jeff? And to be honest, after hearing about recent bad seasons and taking one look at all the pretty people typically casted, I had a hard time taking it seriously. And even to this day, it's really hard to hear players in the house talk about social relationships and manipulation when half the cast there couldn't care less about strategy and are just looking for a showmance. But after months of looking into the show, comparison videos between Survivor, and needing a new show to watch since I was finishing up all the US seasons of Survivor, I finally decided to give Big Brother a shot, starting with BB13 of all seasons. It was definitely an interesting season to start out with, to say the least. I actually think starting out with returning players was a good thing for me, because I got to see that there were players in the house that were guaranteed to play hard. And episode by episode, I couldn't believe how engaged I got as I started to grasp the premise of the show. The idea that there were 3 rounds and episodes of gameplay made it feel like I was getting double the amount of content that I would usually get in a Survivor season. And the majority of episodes was in fact gameplay. Not much focus on showmances, how hot everyone was, and pointless filler. And it was so interesting to see how even the subtle differences compared to Survivor. Like, I was shocked to see Dominic go home so early, as he was being billed as a big time player that would make a deep run. But then I had to remember that this was a live show happening in real time, which sometimes produces winners that we would simply never get in Survivor. Despite the absolute BS finish this season produced, I had to say that I was impressed and eager to watch more. And through my watches of Big Brother throughout the years, to which I still haven't finished, might I add, I definitely have had quite an interesting ride with the series, with some seasons making me want to quit watching the show, and other seasons making me completely more interested in Big Brother than Survivor. However, one thing I will say, while the concept of Big Brother is certainly more appealing than Survivor, I simply will always take Survivor blindsides over any type of blindsides in Big Brother. The immunity idols, the plurality votes, the extra votes, a flip on big players, it's what makes the show so good. And being more of a gameplay over cast type when it comes to enjoying seasons, this simply makes the best Survivor seasons completely outshine the best Big Brother seasons, in my opinion. Let's be honest, even the good seasons of Big Brother have quite a few predictable rounds, where there's a pretty clear target, to the point where the actual elimination episode is either involving something else, or a really pathetic attempt to get the house to flip, with scripted DRs of players thinking about flipping to which a 5-year-old could see through. And so, despite Dan's funeral, Steve cutting Vanessa, and all the other great moments, my all-time favorite Big Brother moment is a veto competition. This veto competition came in week 3 of Big Brother All-Stars. To refresh your memory, the entire house was pretty much against the Season 6 alliance. However, they all kept winning HOHs, with James taking the week 3 HOH, thus making them all safe. Knowing they were all big targets, they wanted to work with the other big targets of the house in Will and Boogie, and go for the floaters / non-threatening players, the biggest one being Chicken George. And knowing Chilltown Plus Season 6 was in control of the house, James put up Will as a pawn. That's right, the greatest player in Big Brother history up to that point was a pawn next to Chicken George. Now, on a couple personal notes, I actually knew a lot about the season going in. I knew Boogie was the winner, Janelle was the fallen angel, and Will went very far. However, there were also some things that I thought I knew that I was wrong about. I thought James was in the final 2 with Boogie, and I also thought Jace made a deep run into the game. The reason I thought Jace made it far was due to being recommended a bunch of YouTube videos of Jace winning veto, with the title being something along the lines of Big Brother favorite moment. Thus, I assumed he would win an important veto in All-Stars. And the fact that he was considered for Big Brother Canada 4 made me sure he made a deep run. Like, yes, he's obviously a big figure in the Big Brother, and was the unfortunate person to take the fall for the creation of the backdoor strategy, but out of all the American contestants Big Brother Canada could choose from, you would think they could do better than a 2-time pre-jury boot. So with all that knowledge going in, this made me 100% certain that Chicken George would be the boot for this week, as not only did it make sense in terms of how the season would play out, but just in general, he was the #1 target of the week, and there's no way a guy like him could win veto. The veto challenge was a simple concept, but one of the best in all of reality television. The "How Bad Do You Want It" challenge. The premise was simple. There were 6 rounds, and the contestants were forced to do the wildest of things in each round. If they refused to do so, they would be eliminated, with the last one standing being crowned the veto winner. As George put it himself, he was literally David out there with a bunch of Goliaths. Sure, this wasn't a push-up competition, but still, basically all the guys in this comp had a reason to win, with even non-factors like Kaser giving it his all, which would make you think George wouldn't stand a chance. It started out simple, with eating a disgusting bowl of slop, but even that proved to be grueling. Dr. Will, being Dr. Will, didn't even really attempt to eat despite being on the chopping block, and Boogie literally threw it up. The next 3 rounds, while still humiliating, were at least doable, with rounds 2 and 3 involving getting rid of their clothes and other players writing whatever they wanted on their bodies, and round 4 involving taking a blueberry bath. However, the next 2 rounds, plus a tiebreaker, is what made this moment an all-time great moment. After both James and Jace dropped out due to not wanting to lose their chance to play in next week's veto, Kaser and Chicken George both were forced to have their heads shaved off. After surviving slop, being blued to death, embarrassed, and losing a spot in next week's veto, Chicken George, arguably the least physical threat to ever step foot in the house, and Kaser, the person who literally had the least to play for in this competition, had to go to a tiebreaker. The tiebreaker was simple. How long would you be willing to go on slop, aka starve yourself, for the next 60 days in the house? And knowing he had to do whatever it took, George went with all 60, beating Kaser and unbelievably winning the veto. With George winning the veto, the new target became Jace, and despite some unaired footage that nearly caused Will to go home, Jace was ultimately evicted unanimously. And you see, this in my opinion is what's great about not only Big Brother, but reality television in general. It's so cool to see a guy that looks like this doom a guy that looks like this. And I think what makes this moment so great is that it shows viewers that the players aren't just here for fame and vacation, they're willing to do whatever it takes. And Chicken George wasn't any strategic mastermind that would ever win All-Stars. There wasn't a strategic bone in his body, but he was willing to embarrass himself and go on slop for 2 months in order to stay in the house. And that's what this game is all about. I hate to say this, but if you put this competition on any recent Big Brother season and a player was in Chicken George's shoes, I would bet at least 90% wouldn't even make it halfway through the competition, much less shaving their head and going on slop all summer to stay in the game. Too many players nowadays would simply accept their fate and experience and be evicted. And I'm sorry, you can be the most attractive, funny, and relatable person on TV, but if you don't want to be there or willing to do whatever you can to win, then why are you there? There are so many people in this world who would sell their left nut just to have a chance to play, and that's the type of players I want in the house, as these are the players that make for a great cast and usually make for a great season. With Big Brother 23 premiering tomorrow, the first season after the massive letdown that was All-Stars 2, I hope every person in the house has the attitude that Chicken George had. Sure, there will be people that are better strategically than others. There will be players that are more athletic than others. Some will have more life experience. Heck, a lot of them will probably never have seen the show before. But no matter what positive or negative attributes they bring to the house, the one thing I hope they all have is the will to be there. The will to do whatever they can to win, even when it seems impossible. Be willing to make yourself miserable just to have a chance to stay in the house. That's what makes Big Brother and all reality television great to watch, which is why this moment is my favorite in all the show's history. A late 40s obese man doing whatever he could to survive, shocking the house, and turning what seemed like an easy week to a blindside of a big time player. Thank you guys for watching and hope you enjoyed my first Big Brother video. Let me know what you guys would like from me regarding Big Brother 23 throughout the season, such as recaps, player rankings, and whatnot. With that said, hit that like and subscribe button for more content such as this, and share this video with all your friends. Thank you guys again, and keep pushing forward in life, no matter how hard it may seem. Have a good one, guys.